Hi again. I'm gonna get a little bit more feedback in terms of our ways of seeing question. I really like Berger, even though I think he's a bit dated. I think there probably would be a really nice there could be a nice attempt to maybe bring some of his thoughts to the present day. And so I kind of like using them in the course because I want to hear how students now interpret the work, because it was done quite a bit ago. But I think there's some really interesting things to say. And I think a lot of you guys touched on this, and this idea of like that Berger's kind of pointing out status, and he's thinking about how these artifacts get kind of relegated and not just owned, but are also afforded meaning by people who seem to be given the power to promote their idea of what these images mean, right? And so I think in tandem with this idea of trying to figure out how to define art, but also give it good reason, or does art have good reason for us to care, right? Is it bringing meaning to our lives? Is it helping us make sense of the world? I think what Berger's advocating here, and I think a lot of you guys picked up on this, right, is that that certain cultural artifacts and the weight and import that they carry is something that isn't necessarily the meaning of those isn't necessarily relegated to a person, right, or persons who have the power to give that meaning. It's more open than that. So he says here, like, the issue is not between innocence and knowledge, or between natural and cultural. We'll talk about nature versus culture and that shift in modernity that happens. You'll really like that, because natural being seeing art as just kind of a window to reflect what the world looks like, and cultural being all the things that happen around that art, infusing and giving meaning to an object. It'll be a neat conversation, but he says, but between a total approach to art, which attempts to relate it to every aspect of our experience, and the esoteric approach of a few specialized experts who are the clerks of a nostalgia of a ruling class in decline, right? There's this desire to hold on and not change. And so there's a real kind of conservative bent that starts to happen over in modernity, especially the idea of trying to keep and house the meaning of art in the object itself and divorce it from the world or the biography of the artist or whatever. And so there's this real push. And so we'll hash that out specifically, but he says here, in decline not before the proletariat, but before the new power of the corporate and the state. The real question is, to whom does the meaning of the art of the past properly belong? To those who can apply it to their lives, or to the cultural hierarchy of relic specialists? And what he says here is that you can remain innocent, but that also makes you ignorant, right? So if you're not paying attention to, and this isn't just in the cultural sphere of visual artifacts, this happens elsewhere, of course. The kind of attempt to own the authorship and have authority over the meaning of things is something that is comfortable, right? Like, being ignorant can be comfortable, but it doesn't make you necessarily innocent when this, the use of those things is maybe, let's give an example, maybe used in order to emphasize the wealth and prestige and access or entry into different economic realms, right? And so if you're not afforded or allowed entry into that because you're not deemed to have the credentials or the education or experience, that can be a real ceiling, right? In a much broader sense. So anyway, I hope that's coming through and is clear to some degree. I think what I love especially about Berger and why I use him again is I think this is really accessible. I think he's pretty clear and has a lot to offer. In terms of challenging our assumptions even today. So I hope you're liking the text, and we'll keep at it. Look forward again, as always, to seeing all of your work, and I hope you guys are all staying well.